Well, today's my birthday, and apparently the Splatoon 2 development team decided to celebrate by releasing an update about a week before. So let's dive right into it. Apparently they released an update to the update that fixed some sort of bug less than a week after that, so this already doesn't bode well. The 2.3.1 update, which released on March 1st, updates the 2.3 update, which released on the 27th, just with one Clamblitz bug fix. Basically, you were able to throw clams or shoot through parts of the Clamblitz basket goal before. They fixed that, so I think it's you're slightly more likely to actually hit a clam throw because you could glitch through the basket before. But on to the 2.3 proper. In terms of most of the changes here are actually just bug fixes, where it's very much not worth explaining all of these because there's a good 2 pages of them here. But it's a lot of clipping stuff where you could get out of bounds, stuff where you could break the physics by mistake, as well as a couple quality of life issues to Salmon Run, and there's a Splatnet bug. They were actually fixed 4 bugs in single player, which is interesting that they're still like actually going in there and finding stuff that's wrong. But besides that, all of this is almost an entirely bug fix patch. But there were a few regular weapon fixes, which are the stuff that I usually actually talk about in these things. So instead of skimming through all the bug fixes this time, I'm just gonna skip over them really because it's too much to go into a huge amount of detail with. The other Salmon Run fix, the other Salmon Run quality of life update is the fact that your rank, if you're above Professional 100, you'll actually keep some of your rank going into the next session. So if you're 100 to 199, the next session your rank will start out at 100, 200 to 299, you'll start out at 200, 300 to 399, you'll start out at 300, and 400 plus, you'll just start out at 400. So you're able to keep some of your professional rank. If you grind it up a lot in one session, you'll be able to hold on to it for the next, which is kind of cool. I kind of wish that it was just consistent in general, unless it was you maxed out, then it would go down a little bit or something. I don't know. That's cool. That might get me to play Salmon Run again, now that the reward isn't a welding mask, which is legitimately somehow worse than the power armor. Don't know how they pulled that off. Anyway. Time for... actually, let's do the special point changes first, as opposed to going to the main weapons in general, because there are only 6 of these. Custom Splattershot Jr., only custom version, got a 10-point buff. Tensa Splattershot got a 20-point buff. It's back to the 2 points for a special, where most people think it belongs, which is kind of good. Tensa surprisingly was getting eclipsed by a lot of other weapons and wasn't used too much recently, but this buff should probably get people using it more. 96 Gal got another 10-point buff to 190, which is kind of ridiculous because it has a sprinkler already, so combining that with sub power up and or special charge up, you're going to be getting 96 armor pretty quickly, which is pretty nice. Gold Dynamo got another 10-point buff from 200 to 190, which is pretty good. I mean, Dynamo's major quote-unquote buff happened last time, and that wasn't... Actually, no, I don't think it was buffed much. It still needs to be buffed more, is basically what I'm saying. It didn't change much. Splat Roller and Hero Roller Replica got a 10-point nerf for some reason, 170 to 180. I don't know. Rollers aren't good in this game. Don't nerf them at all. That's all I'm going to say. And Slosher Deco, only Deco, got a 10-point nerf from 190 to 200. That one's kind of inconsequential. I don't really see people running Slosher Deco too much. I honestly don't see people using any version of regular Slosher too much. It's pretty much always either Tri-Slosher, Vanilla Tri-Slosher, or one of the sloshing machines. But it's there. It's changed. None of those are particularly bad. Like, the Tensa one is really good. And the 96 one is good specifically for me, but in terms of overall metagamey stuff, it's nothing significant. But time for the actual main sub and special weapon changes. Aerosprays got an increased number of ink drops per shot. I don't know what that means. I think it has something to do with the way it covers turf, because ink drops per shot implies that it shoots multiple drops of ink out at once, which could let you hit someone multiple times, which would drastically increase the time to kill, which I don't think makes much sense. So I think it's just the way it covers the ground is different. It doesn't say increased spread, so I don't think it specifically turfs more. It just turfs a different way. All versions of the 52 gal got a decrease to RNG on their shooting. Yeah, you'd think the 96 would need that, since 52 kind of doesn't, but I don't know. Regardless, the first shot has less RNG elements to it than it did previously, so their first shot will be significantly more accurate, and the amount of time it takes accuracy to decay when you're consistent to decay. I'm talking like Donkey Kong, to decay. When you're shooting consistently, it takes longer, basically, so you need to shoot longer to get to the minimum level of RNG, which is nice. Granted, 52 was actually pretty good before this, kind of didn't need the buff. I would have preferred this on 96, but I'm apparently the only person who plays 96, so what do I know? Both versions of Jet Squelcher got a decrease to shot spread when you're in the air, so after, you know, when you jump, your spread increases until you land again. But Jet Squelcher got a decrease to the maximum spread it jumps out to is decreased by 20%, so that's nice. Jet Squelcher's claim to fame is that it's long range and accurate even if it's not rapid firing, so that just keeps that going. Clash Blaster got reduced interval between continuous shots by 2 frames, so it'll now shoot 3 times a second, which I've actually seen this buff be used pretty well by people already, which is nice for people who play it. I only play Vanilla Blaster, really, but it's good. Adjusted the radius of inking and number of drops that rain down, so the inked area per unit shot doesn't become too large as a result of the above-mentioned improvement to continuous shooting. That spiel basically means you'll still cover turf at the same rate, even though it shoots faster, but it's better. It basically is saying it's better at combat, but that makes it not better at turfing at all. L3 Nozzle Nose got a shot speed buff, so you don't need to lead your shots as much with it when you're using it, and you could be a little more accurate there, which is pretty good. H3 Nozzle Nose made it so that the shot sway does not increase even when shooting immediately after a jump, and expanded the size of area inked at point of impact. So basically, it covers slightly more turf, and it has a lot better accuracy when jumping. I think that makes it the only shooter to not get an accuracy decrease while you're in the air, so I guess it sort of has its own niche now for people who like really jumping around a lot. I don't know. Like, it's good. It's an H3 buff. H3 could always do better. I'm not complaining about it. It's just a little arbitrary. I'm probably still just going to use Jet because I can't use H3 to save my life, so it doesn't affect me really, but it's cool. It's there. People who play H3 are definitely happy about it. I've seen some people that are pretty okay with that. I don't know why I'm talking about the H3 buff so much. Carbon Roller extended the distance at which maximum damage is dealt by when landing an attack at the extent of a horizontal swing by roughly 35%. So the horizontal lethal radius was increased. Believe it or not, it actually kills better in a horizontal distance. Like, its range directly to the front, like its lethal range, is obviously less than the regular roller, but its horizontal lethal range is now more. So if you're standing directly next to it, you could test this out in the testing range by yourself, actually. You can stand further away from a dummy, and like you could stand next to it in line, but further away, and flick, and you'll still kill it to your side, further away with a carbon roller than a vanilla roller. Unfortunately, this is going to mean people are going to start calling out lag on carbon rollers now, because it is a bit of a janky hitbox. You can kill people in places where it really doesn't make sense, because they're not actually being hit by the roller, and that's kind of the gimmick of carbon, where it's faster, but it'll only kill you if you hit it directly. So, I don't know. Hitboxes itself don't make sense, but carbon could use a buff. Carbon could use an even more... Carbon could use a bigger buff, let's be real. Carbon isn't very good. Like I said, rollers and chargers, they need to be buffed. They're not being buffed very well. E-Leader also got buffed. Fully charged shots now move 50% faster. Didn't get a range buff. Didn't get any sort of other buff that would make it like actually useful in this metagame, but what do I know? Developers know best. Mini Splatling. Reduced time until ink begins to refill after shooting by 10 entire frames, so it effectively consumes more ink. Hydra Splatling says extended the time that a shot continues by roughly 25%. I think that means that it shoots the shot speed is slower. I can't tell. I can't tell what that means, because they say speed of shots everywhere else. So either and it's not a range buff. So like the only thing I could think of is it's 25% slower. I don't know why they didn't say 25% slower. What do I know? But I don't know. I guess it could use a nerf. It doesn't really change much in general. Like if you're using Hydra properly, that's not gonna affect you too much anyway. But I guess it makes it less good at melee. That's sort of a thing where even if you flank a Hydra, they could sometimes get you. That's a little harder now. That sort of makes sense, actually. Makes it more of a turret-type thing. Dual Squelcher. Yeah, it says Dual Squelcher in the patch notes instead of Dually Squelchers, because they clearly cared. Reduced shot sway by roughly 20% when firing the first shot from not dodge roll position, so your first shot, like with the 52, has less RNG behind it. That's more accurate. Never really saw the Dually Sculptures as particularly inaccurate in general, so this isn't too bad. Or rather, this probably won't affect me much. But it's good. It makes Dually Sculptures better, which I'm always okay with. Undercover Brella, it says expanded overall ink range. I think that means it turfs more. It doesn't seem to imply that the shots go further, which I don't know. I don't really see people playing Undercover Brella that much anyway. So I'm not sure how much this is going to change, because like regular Brella has Sprinkler and Cloud, so if you want to do something for turfing, you might want to just use regular Brella, but I don't know, could see more people using Underground for Undercover because of this. Yeah, I really, whole year older, a whole year worse at speaking English, good god. And now we move on to the single sub-weapon that was changed, Squid Beacons. You can now see the position of opponents within the area of effect of a beacon on it. Okay, I need to re-explain this. Beacons now got an additional ability where if an opponent moves within a certain radius of it, they'll be visible on your entire team's map. So you can use beacons not just as actual beacons, but as radar points that are effectively semi-permanent point sensors. That's cool. Beacons are actually really cool now. Right in time for the Beacon LAN next weekend that I will be attending, so look forward to something about that, I don't know. But I'm going to use beacon weapons now. Usually I'm really bad at placing my beacons, but maybe I'll actually put effort into it this time. Tensa Missiles. You can now squid while you have them out. So they did the same thing that you could do with Stingray, where you can swim around with them to get to a better position. That's cool. Tensa Missiles are one of my favorite specials in the game. I'm glad they're seeing some love here. It doesn't really change the way I use them, because I always wimp out and move way to the back of the map whenever I pop them, but it's good for people who use them the normal way. Inkjet and Baller actually got the exact same buff. You can change your direction easier than before, so you're not locked into basically moving the same direction as much, which honestly was bigger a problem for the Baller than the Inkjet, because the Inkjet you could just rotate in place if you wanted to shoot in a different direction. So, that's fine. Baller isn't so OP that buffing it again will break something now, so I'm okay with that. But, you'll notice that besides the Hydra nerf, nothing else got nerfed besides special points. We're not seeing any sort of Stingray nerf, we're not seeing any sort of nerf to anything that's good in the meta. So, the developers tried to go with some sort of faux patchwork fix for all these problems by ignoring that they exist and trying to slightly buff other things in a hope that they'd counter them. Clearly they're not learning anything from the fact that things are extremely overplayed in the meta right now, and they kind of did absolutely nothing to fix the actual problems that are going on. So that's kind of not okay. And also, this wonderful bug fix patch with 2 entire pages of bug fixes caused another huge one. You can now use, with any dualies, you can dodge roll off the map in Arowana Mall, which means that, hey, guess what? It's so broken that they had to remove it from solo rotation and are not going to be able to fix it until another patch March 16th. That also screwed up the Beacon LAN, because the way the map list was worked out, it was going to be a certain number of maps, each with only 2 modes that you use, that were going to be in rotation for the entire tournament. Arowana Mall was one of those. it has to be taken out now. It was replaced with, I think, Inkblot, which I don't dislike Inkblot, but the fact that the developers were so bad at bug fixing, they introduced new bugs, and that's affecting actual tournaments. Meanwhile, they're also ignoring the same problems the metagame for said tournaments is having right now by not changing anything that's overpowered. I don't know. It doesn't look like they really cared much when they were making this patch. I don't know. Hopefully the 16th one will actually fix things, or the April one will fix things, but as of now, I'm really disappointed with the changes they made here, and can only hope that next time they, like, actually make some fixes to problems instead of pretending that other things exist when they don't. But, unfortunately, since I'm going to be home for spring break next week, so I'm not going to have access to this good microphone, so I might just not record any videos and just stream a bunch. There should be some Xenoblade X stuff up regardless. I'm going to try to record a bunch of that ahead of time. But in terms of, like, Splatoon and other not Let's Play videos, there might be, like, a 2-week drought of that, and I'll be back after that. Although, like I said, I will be at Beacon, a Splatoon 2 LAN, on the weekend of the 10th and 11th, so I'll probably be live tweeting about that a lot, and we'll probably make an update video talking about that once I'm back home. So, until at some point, this is Luxon, signing off.